Hey everyone, welcome back to the Cast and Spear podcast. Today we have somebody very special, Eric Anderson, spearo from Central Cal. Awesome dude. Been talking to him quite a bit on Instagram. And this week we're going to be covering a whole bunch of different topics about dirty water diving, thick kelp diving, how to do shore diving a lot better and safer, and a whole bunch more. So make sure you watch this entire series. But today we are going to cover dirty water diving. Welcome to the show, Eric.
Hey, John, glad to be here. Appreciate you having me on. We've been chatting a while, so glad to finally do this.
Absolutely. So, dirty water diving, man. What are the deets? How do we do it more efficiently and safer?
Well, the first trick is to blindfold yourself and then stick your face in the cold water and try to find the bottom. No, I mean, in Central California, we're not like the clear water vids that you see on Instagram all the time. It's always, 5 feet, 10 feet, 15 feet's a really good day. 25 is epic, at least in the Santa Cruz area. Monterey, you might hit 40 foot, but moral of the story is you got to be comfortable in cold, dirty water. Not being able to see the bottom when you make your dive, not being able to see your buddy while he's down, those types of things.
Yeah, it sounds like a bunch of miso soup, man. That sounds pretty intense. Do you find that the murky water, though, since I'm guessing you guys go for lingcod, rockfish, and it's mostly stuff that has structure. So you want to kind of just shoot down, get as close, your face as close to the structure, and then you're like looking in holes. Is that kind of the game plan, or?
Yeah, I mean, when you have visibility, it's kind of nice. It opens up the playing field a bit. You can see the rockfish, like, olive rockfish or blacks and blues suspended. Maybe line up a good shot. You can see off in the distance or, hunt from the surface a bit to find structure. But when you don't have that visibility, then, hole hunting really comes into play. You're looking for structure, and then you're looking where those fish are going to hide out. You're not going to have those open water shots because you just don't have the visibility for it. So having a float line, having a high vis flashlight, something at least 750 plus lumens is good to have. Something too bright also to consider can create a lot of backscatter, so you might be able to see as well. But there's tools to the trade to really help. And then sometimes just diving by braille. I mean, you're going down, you're trying to find structure, you have to find the hole and stick your head inside to take a look. I used to do that a lot. I don't do it as much anymore. I'll hold out a bit for better conditions. But
Gotcha. So what kind of gear would you recommend then? Is it, since you're going such not shallow dives per se, but shooting into the hole, you're probably going to hit the rocks. Are you going for a smaller gun with a reel or mid shaft, back end? What are you looking for?
yeah, so for myself, I like to use a rod Allen for an open water shot typically because it can get beat up a lot. It's easy to do a shore dive with, whatnot. But at the same time, they've got a significantly longer shaft than most guns and things you need to take in consideration if you're trying to maneuver into a hole. And so knowing like where a mid handle comes into play or a little shorter Euro style gun that's maybe only 8 inches long. So base your gun based on the conditions. So if it got visibility, I'll take the Rob Allen or I'll take a longer gun. If I don't, then I'm going to take that hole hunting gun. And you also need enough power, but you don't need too much power. And then the other thing I'd say with hole hunting is, and I used to do this and divers do, is you see the fish and you try to make the shot on that dive. If you see the fish and he's been sitting in a hole all morning, probably not going anywhere, leave your gun with a float line so you can mark it, go to the surface. And then if you're buddy diving, tell your buddy about the structure. Dude, my gun's on this hole. There's something in there. Go check it out. Haven't spooked him yet. Or, hey, there's this fish I have marked. I really want to get the shot. I'm going to do a breathe up. Watch me. I'm going back down. And then go down and shoot him. But where you run into problems is trying to make that shot. And you got a 20-pound lingcod in the hole. He's dragging you all over the place. You're trying to get him out. You're already at the end of your breath. Just take the extra minute and go back up.
That's a good one, a way to segue. When you do shoot the big fish, because this is happening in Baja too, you shoot a big grouper and your, shaft gets stuck or the gills flare and you're having trouble pulling out. Do you have any tips to make it easier? Like, do you try to force your hands around to kind of get the gill plates down, or like what do you do when you have a big fish stuck in a hole?
Yeah. So if it's a big ling or cabezone have a huge head, hence the name. So they're just, they can get jammed up in these holes and kind of flare themselves out, and some rockfish will do it. But I used to just grab my shooting line and you start tugging as hard as you can. A lot of times what I've noticed though, it can be like the flopper stuck on something so minimal that it's just anchoring up. And if you can finally figure that out, push forward a little bit and key it out, that helps. With bigger fish, sometimes though, you just got to reach in and manhandle them out of there if they don't want to budge. Or, find ways if you got to take your shooting line off and thread things through. You got a buddy come down there. Hey, you go take a look. I can't figure this out. Maybe you see something I don't. Don't sit there trying to figure out all your own.
So I've had guys come on and we've talked pretty much how to buddy dive in like murkier water, but I always like to ask the question if you have, sometimes people have tips that might not have gone into the community. Do you have anything outside of like putting colored weights on, or having a float line? Is there anything else that kind of we should know about that hasn't been covered?
I think the one thing with dirty water buddy diving that's benefited me and my core dive buddy, this guy Aiden Brown, is talking to each other after the dive. So I make my dive, I see structure, I could probably do a couple pumps and look over there at the ledge, but it's also, we have this leapfrog ability where I can see it ahead and I'm like, all right, I'm going to go back up. I'm like, dude, 12 feet this way, there's a perfect ledge, or I saw this kelp rockfish here, or go check this out. So I already know where he's going to go because I've told him where the fish are. So when he makes his dive and I can't see him and I'm following his white float line in 40, 50 feet of water, I know that he's going 12 feet this way because he's going to check this out and he's going to look at this ledge. And he'll go a little bit further and I'll see his line. But if he doesn't come up because I can't see him at that minute mark, minute 10 or whatever that we've communicated to each other, I have an idea of where to go to find him. I think it helps just to talk on the surface. And also too, I can't tell you how many times I point structure out or a fish out or something else. He goes and pops it. 20 minutes later, he does it for me. I pop the fish. It's always that next leapfrog that's able to take a good shot. So, it's a team sport. We split up the fish. We enjoy it together. You leave the competition out of it, I think, is what is beneficial to buddy diving as well. If you're competing with each other, it's really hard to buddy dive the right way.
Dude, that's such a good point. I was talking with Uncle Learn You How the other day, and we were talking, and he was mentioning how, you got to put the ego aside and team up. I think having that communication early and saying like, hey man, we'll split. If I get a good fish this trip, we'll get you some fillets or whatever, and vice versa, versus like, hell yeah, I did well today and I beat you. It's like, well, you're not gonna. It's cool to have competition. It feels good, but it could put you in bad situations.
Yeah. And there's moments for that. I won't say we don't always do that.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, like, the shit talking, big fish gets a 6-pack or whatever. But majority of the time, it's like, you know what? Let's just hope we both get fish, and there's ways of making it happen for each other.
Absolutely. So when you're down there, are you only using a flopper? Like, there's no point of having like a side slip or probably not a slip tip, but.
Yeah, I mean, in the kelp, when you're bouncing off rocks all the time, the side, like the Khmer side slip or the slip tips and everything else, no, I wouldn't use them. A single flopper works well. Some folks still use, for different species, that older style spear tip where it's got the 2 wings off the side, like for halibut. But then there are obvious reasons to use a slip tip for some fish as well.
Perfect, man. Is there anything else we should cover for dirty water diving that we didn't?
No, I think we covered everything. I think the number one thing is comfortability. If you're uncomfortable, your heart rate's not lowered. So.
Yep, absolutely. All right, guys. Well, that does it for this episode. Check back tomorrow where we're going to be talking about how to dive in thick kelp, which is a popular topic that everybody keeps hitting Eric to cover. So we're going to cover it tomorrow. If you want to reach out to Eric, hit him up on Instagram at Eric_J Anderson, and I'll put that spelling in the show notes as well. So until next time, dive safe, guys, and we'll see you on the next one.